Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, August 10th, coming to you live from Seoul. I'm McKeon. Before we begin, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. South Korea reported over 1,500 new COVID-19 infections Tuesday, showing no signs of slowing down. Meanwhile, the southern port city of Busan has also raised the social distancing level to 4, the highest in the 4-tier system. Seoul and Washington will begin joint preliminary military training on Tuesday ahead of their annual joint military drills that start next week. North Korean leader's sister Kim Yo-jong slammed the move, calling it an act of betrayal. And Samsung's de facto chief Lee Jae-yong has been granted parole almost 7 months after being sent back to jail for bribery. Monday's decision will see the 53-year-old billionaire released by the end of the week. Our top story this morning, North Korea has slammed South Korea and the U.S. as the two countries' militaries engage in the run-up to the summertime drill slated for next week. For more, we have our Kim Ji-yeon from Seoul's Defense Ministry. Ji-yeon, first tell us more about this year's joint military drills.
Sure. Today, the militaries of South Korea and the U.S. initiate preliminary training for the annual summertime drill over 4 days, called the Crisis Management Staff Training, with the aim of preventing the expansion of conflict or terror into an outright war. The actual military drills, called the Combined Command Post Training, or CCPT for short, will be carried out starting next Monday until August 26th. The CCPT is comprised of computer simulations and is led by the Combined Forces Command Commander, U.S. Army General Paul Akamara, who took office last month. CSC Deputy Commander General Kim Sun-young from the South Korean side will lead forces for 2 days. 1 day during Part 1 and 1 day in Part 2 of the CCPT, in order to get prepared for full operational training, an integral part of the conditions-based and vision transfer of wartime operational control from Washington to Seoul. The militaries of South Korea and the U.S. plan to go public and provide details, including the volume and duration of their joint drill to North Korea, as is customary, right before the actual drill starts next Monday. They'll highlight that the exercises are defensive in nature. McKeon.
Now, Ji-yeon, North Korea has cut right to the chase and criticized the joint drills this morning. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. Kim Yo-jong, the sister of the North Korean leader, made such remarks in a statement carried by the Korean Central News Agency this morning, expressing strong regret over South Korean authorities' act of betrayal by engaging in joint military exercises that will destabilize regional peace and security. It says North Korea will strengthen its own defense and strong preemptive capabilities to swiftly respond to any military act. The statement says the exercises represent U.S. hostile policies towards North Korea to pressure it through force, despite the North's continued warnings. It also said the U.S. calling for dialogue without conditions is a disguise to hide its true intentions for invasion, adding the U.S. is the real perpetrator in breaking regional peace and stability. Back to you.
Thank you for the updates. We appreciate it. Now, South Korea reported a daily number of more than 1,500 COVID-19 cases, showing no signs of abating. In order to curb the spread during the summer vacation season, the government has decided to install temporary screening centers at expressway rest service areas located right before entering the capital region. For more on this, we have our Ji-yeon on the line for us. Ji-yeon, give us the details.
McKeon, the country reported 1,540 cases on Tuesday, up 48 from the previous day's figure. This is a record high daily number of COVID-19 cases for any Monday since the pandemic began. The number of confirmed cases reported on Tuesday reflects COVID-19 tests taken on Monday. In order to curb infections that may rise while people move during the summer vacation season, temporary screening centers will be installed at expressway rest areas. A senior official from the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasure Headquarters said temporary screening centers will be set up beginning this week until the end of August at the latest at 4 expressway rest areas located right before entering the capital region. The official also urged health authorities to ramp up inspections at major attractions, including beaches, over concerns of cluster infections rising during the summer vacation. As for the vaccination campaign, a total of around 21 million people, or about 42% of the country's citizens, have had their first jabs, and around 15% have received second doses as of Tuesday. However, the number of breakthrough infections was up to 1,500 as of Monday, about 0.02% of those who've been fully vaccinated.
Now, Ji-young, COVID-19 is spreading rapidly, even outside of the capital area. The southern port city of Busan has raised its level of social distancing measures to the highest tier, level 4, from today, right?
Right, McKeon. The city's social distancing measures will be raised to the highest level as it has been reporting an average of 100 cases a day recently. Until yesterday, the highest level 4 social distancing measures were enforced in the capital area, with level 3 in most other parts of the nation. With the level 4 social distancing measures applied, only up to 4 people can have personal gatherings before 6 p.m. and only up to 2 people can meet after 6 p.m. That's all I have for now. Back to you, McKeon.
Thank you, Ji-young. Do keep us updated. Now, for the first time since February, the U.S. is averaging more than 100,000 new COVID-19 cases a day, a resurgence fueled by the Delta variant. The virus is also spreading fast elsewhere, including Japan and Iran. Our Kim Hyo-sun with the details.
With the rampant spread of the Delta variant, the U.S. has logged an average of more than 108,000 COVID-19 cases a day over the past week. Authorities say that's the highest in about 6 months. Citing data from the Department of Health and Human Services, CNN reports that hospitalizations and fatalities caused by COVID-19 have jumped nearly twofold over the past 2 weeks. Citing Johns Hopkins University, CNN also says over 500 Americans are dying from the virus every day. It noted that more than 90% of those hospitalized are not vaccinated, with hospitalizations surging in southern states where vaccination rates are low. Japan, which witnessed a resurgence of COVID-19 during its hosting of the Tokyo Olympics, reported more than 12,000 new cases on Monday. Its daily tally has topped 10,000 for 7 straight days. Japan's 7-day average of new infections is over 99,000, nearly 4 times higher than July 22nd, a day before the Olympics opening ceremony. Iran continues to grapple with skyrocketing infections, with an all-time high of over 40,000 new cases reported on Monday. The virus has been surging since June in what officials are calling a 5th wave fueled by the Delta strain. Iran, which remains the worst-hit nation in the Middle East, is also seeing a surge in COVID-19-related fatalities. Its state broadcaster said Monday that 1 person is dying from the virus every 2 minutes in Iran. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
More than 99.99% of people vaccinated against COVID-19 have not had a severe breakthrough case of COVID-19. This is according to analysis done using recent data released by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. According to the data, out of 164 million fully vaccinated people, only slightly more than 1,500 died from COVID-19, while just over 7,100 were hospitalized. As for demographics, about 3/4 of all breakthrough cases were among those aged 65 and older. The CDC added that the data relies on passive and voluntary reporting and represents snapshots, suggesting data might not be complete or representative. Samsung's de facto chief Lee Jae-yong has been granted parole. Monday's decision by the Justice Ministry's parole committee came almost 7 months after he was sent back to jail in January after being found guilty of bribery. The 53-year-old billionaire will be released by the end of this week. McKeon reports.
Samsung Group heir Lee Jae-yong will be released from prison on parole Friday morning. He's been given parole on the occasion of Liberation Day, August 15th, when pardons and paroles have often been granted. Justice Minister Park Bum-gye explained that the decision was made after considering the country's economic situation and the global economy amid the ongoing pandemic.
We decided to include Samsung Electronics VP Lee Jae-yong in the parole list, taking into consideration the local economic situation as well as the conditions of the global economic environment affected by the prolonged COVID-19 pandemic.
Samsung's de facto leader was eligible for review after the Justice Ministry last month eased parole eligibility guidelines for first-time offenders with good behavior to 60% of jail terms served. Monday's decision, however, will not immediately allow Lee Jae-yong to return to office unless granted a special exemption from the Justice Ministry. Since this is a parole and not a pardon, he will be barred from running Samsung for the time being. This is because he's still subject to a 5-year employment restriction, which was imposed by the Justice Ministry this year after he was found guilty in a retrial in January. During the retrial, Lee Jae-yong was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison for bribing former President Park Geun-hye to help his succession as the head of Samsung Group. But even with the parole for the bribery case, Lee still faces 2 other legal battles. One relates to the controversial merger of 2 Samsung affiliates in 2015, Cheil Industries and Samsung C&T, which is believed to have served as a key step toward his succession. The 53-year-old is also facing trial for his alleged use of propofol, a strictly controlled sedative. McKeon, Arirang News.
South Korea's biggest game developer, Krafton, that developed the popular game Battlegrounds, has had a rather tough market debut in the benchmark KOSPI this morning. The company's opening price was set at around $390, which is around 10% lower than its IPO price of $434. Krafton's listing was expected to be one of the largest ever on the local bourse. But amid overvaluation concerns, the game developer's IPO drew a lukewarm response from retail investors. As of 9:30 a.m., the stock price has fallen even further, trading at around $374. After 9 weeks at the top of the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 music chart, BTS hit song Butter has finally dropped down a few spots. Billboard on Monday said Butter had dropped to number 4 on the chart. Its 9 weeks at the top was not only the longest streak for BTS, but also the longest for any single this year. The song was the first by any Asian artist to stay at the top for longer than 4 weeks in a row. Despite falling off the top of the main chart, Butter was still able to keep its number 1 title in digital song sales for the 10th week straight. After completing their 17-day run at the Tokyo 2020 Summer Olympics, Team Korea received a warm welcome upon arrival in Seoul on Monday. For more, we have our Kim Do-yeon at the News Center. Do-yeon, quite a scene from the airport.
McKeon, on Monday night, a huge crowd of fans and reporters gathered at International Airport where the welcome ceremony was held. The women's volleyball team, which fell short of winning a medal at the Games, was first to appear. Captain Kim Young-kyung thanked the fans for their support.
Now that I'm back in Korea and here at the airport, I can really feel how much so many people have supported us throughout the Games. So once again, I'm sincerely grateful.
Also at the scene was a second Vice Culture Minister Kim Jong-bae, who came to welcome the South Korean athletes. Despite scaling down the welcoming ceremony due to COVID-19, the players finally got to see some cheers from the fans as the Tokyo 2020 Olympics were held without spectators. The Tokyo 2020 Olympics saw athletes of all ages compete, from a 12-year-old becoming the Olympics' youngest medalist in 85 years to 66-year-old horse rider. Youngsters and veteran athletes alike pushed the very boundaries of age, showing the true Olympic spirit. Lee Jae-yong reports.
Two ends of the spectrum. On one side was South Korean table tennis player Shin Yu-bin, 17 years old. The other, Shalian Ni of Luxembourg, 41 years older than Shin. The 58-year-old has competed in 5 Olympics and is the oldest Olympic table tennis pro. The match ended with Shin's victory, but the veteran player said she feels younger than yesterday and will continue life's challenges. Table tennis wasn't the only sport to see a dramatic age gap. Skateboarding made its debut at Tokyo 2020, and in the women's street event, 13-year-old Momiji Nishiya won gold. Meanwhile, one participant in the men's event, Rune Glifberg, was 46. Old and young players also shined as a team. South Korea's golden archery team was made of big brother 40-year-old Oh Jin-hyuk, the ace 29-year-old Kim Woo-jin, and 17-year-old Kim Jae-deok, who made his first Olympics debut. After all, it was Kim who helped ease the big brother's tensions with his youthful spirit and iconic shouting.
The other members said the shouting of fighting helped them feel less nervous during the competition, so I think it was a good strategy for the team.
Athletes at Tokyo 2020 really did push the boundaries. The youngest competitor was Han Zaza, a 12-year-old table tennis player from Syria who is the youngest Olympian since 1992. Kokono Hiraki, who is a couple of months older than Zaza, became the youngest Olympic medalist in 85 years with her silver medal in the women's skateboarding park final. Meanwhile, Australian equestrian Mary Hanna, at the age of 66, participated in her 7th Games. And these athletes once again proved the Olympic spirit knows no age barrier. 이경은, Arirang News.
While the U.S. and China may have topped the medal rankings by the end of the Olympics, their actual return may not be so impressive. San Marino only sent 5 athletes, however, 3 of them brought home medals. This is also the first time in 25 consecutive Summer and Winter Olympics that the European microstate has had athletes on the winner's podium. The country's population of 33,860 means that it's 1 medal per just over 11,000 residents, the biggest ratio in Summer Olympics history. For reference, for the U.S. to reach that ratio, it would need to win nearly 30,000 medals, more than all the Summer Olympics medals awarded in history. Australian swimmer Emma McKeon is the most successful individual athlete from Tokyo 2020, taking home a haul of 7 medals made up of 4 golds and 3 bronzes. She also became the first female swimmer to achieve this feat in the sport's Olympics history. And while at it, she broke an Olympic record too with 23.81 in the 50-meter freestyle. The 27-year-old has now become the most decorated Olympian in Australia's Olympics history with 11 medals under her belt. That's all for me for the time being. I'll be back with more in a later newscast.
It's time to take a look at what's going on in the world now. According to a landmark report on climate change signed off by 234 scientists on Monday, the world could potentially see a temperature increase of 1.5 degrees Celsius within 20 years, even in a best-case scenario. The latest analysis of global warming from the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change warned that the human-induced warming was unequivocal, adding that the impact of climate change is being felt around the world.
It is indisputable that human activities are causing climate change and making extreme weather events more frequent and severe. Second, it shows that climate change is affecting every region on our planet. And lastly, it explains that strong, rapid, sustained reductions in carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gas emissions would be required to limit global warming.
So far, the planet is known to have warmed by an estimated 1.2 degrees Celsius up to 2020 and 1.1 degrees on a 10-year average basis from pre-industrial times. Piers Forster, one of the report's lead authors, says if the world can substantially reduce emissions this decade and get to net zero carbon emissions by 2050, the temperature can still be limited to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Over in the U.S., the woman who accused New York Governor Andrew Cuomo of groping her in his office has spoken out publicly for the first time. Speaking to CBS's This Morning, the governor's former executive assistant says she didn't initially respond more forcefully out of fear of losing her job. Speaking to other media outlets, Comiso says her dream job turned into a nightmare, adding she hopes Cuomo will be punished for his actions. Comiso is also one of 11 women to have accused the New York governor of sexual misconduct. Over in China, former EXO member Chris Wu, who was arrested by Chinese police on charges of sexual assault, could face a severe sentence. According to the state-run Global Times last week, citing legal experts, the former K-pop artist's case might serve as an opportunity to highlight that money and power cannot guarantee everything, even for high-profile artists. While Wu is a Canadian citizen, he will be punished according to Chinese law. The report also noted that Wu could face 10 years to even life imprisonment if found guilty.
Good morning. 입추 has passed and we can already feel that conditions have become a lot more comfortable. And we can expect lower daytime highs on this 발복, the final day of the hottest period of Korea's summer season. With heat alerts have been eased nationwide with afternoon highs to hover around 30 degrees Celsius this afternoon. But sudden widespread rain is in the forecast nationwide. Showers have already started in Daegu and Gyeongsang-do provinces this morning, and as the temperatures rise, rain will spread to the rest of the country, dropping 5 to 70 millimeters across Korea through tonight. And highs in most parts will be 1 to 4 degrees lower than yesterday, and central regions could feel slightly lower than these actual temperatures. Jeju-do will be affected by a stationary front from tomorrow, dropping rain on the island and other parts of southern region through the weekend. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
That will do it for us at this hour on Arirang News. We'll be back at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching and goodbye.